It's not blended. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, which you probably are because everybody is new here, I'm so happy you decided to come join me today. Please stick around. I promise you it's a good old time. Today is video number 3 of our latest series, Get the Most Out of Your Palette, where we dive into the Tarte and Grav3yardgirl Swamp Queen Palette. It has been a fun and sometimes tumultuous, bumpy ride. However, we persist, and I promised you I'd show you every single shade in this palette, so here we are doing just that. I'm just gonna dive right in today. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I will leave my playlist up here as well as down below. Please go take a look at it if you would be so kind. I'm sure it'll make much more sense after that. But without further ado, let's get started. We're going to just get on in there because it is a beautiful day where I am today, and I want to get some of that good sunlight before it goes away. And I think if I can breeze right through this tutorial, maybe I'm able to do that. So this is where I think it's gonna start getting tricky. Now, if you watched the last video, you already know it got a little tricky. But today, I have a feeling it might be even more so, but I'm gonna remain optimistic because today we have to dive into this shade. Now, if you look real closely, see that? That's micro glitter in a matte eyeshadow. I think I've touched this shade maybe once since purchasing this palette. For a good reason. I also have to incorporate this final shade, which we haven't used, which is that bronze metallic shade called Sassy Bun. I've already primed my eyelids. I've done my entire base today, just beforehand, including my eyebrows. I don't really know what's going on with them. You don't have to worry about it. Also, ignore her. She's not invited. She just crashed the party, but she's not invited. Wanda and Wanda, the sequel, left, but they left their friend straggling behind. It's been a good time. Just so we can move this right along, I'm gonna take that bronzer in the palette called Sweet Tea and just get that right in the crease straight away. There's some kickback today. I don't want this look to be too precise, although I think I've said that with every single look from this palette. I promise you I do precision. I do. Just not with this palette. This palette is really great for if you want a daytime look, an office look, or maybe even a little bit of a grungy look. I've yet to see this palette perform well with a really sort of dramatic, detailed look, which is okay. Not every palette has to do that, but it does have to do something. Next, we're going to get into Dog Man and deepen up the crease. I want this look to be very warm because I'm going to try my darndest to use the shades that I really love in this palette to combat what is to come. And I do still really love these shades. I still stand by that bronzer is one of the best crease shades out there, especially for like a warm sort of bronzy summery look. And this orange complements it nicely. And the micro glitter in this one is fine enough that it just sort of dusts away and it doesn't actually interfere with your look. If you haven't guessed by now, we're doing a halo eye. We're gonna take our little packing brush and we're going to dip into Sippy Sippy and we're gonna hope for the best. You know, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I understand the concept of putting a glitter in an eyeshadow. I get it. In theory, and also in the pan, it's gorgeous. Like, it looks stunning. It's like this sort of greeny gold and it's beautiful, but on the eye, do you see any glitter? No, that's what I thought. It's kind of a useless step. And to be perfectly honest, it just makes me nervous. So you don't know if it's gonna get all over your face, all over your cheeks, or in your eye. Like, you use glitter glue for a reason. But if you used a glitter glue with a matte eyeshadow with glitter, wouldn't it just bunch up and get really gross? Never tried foiling a matte eyeshadow. And to be honest, I don't really want to start now. For all the griping I did about this particular shade leading up to this video, I'll admit it didn't blend too poorly. I'm big enough to admit that. Oh yeah, and you can already see like the fallout and the glitter is happening over here. Hopefully that dusts away. I would have preferred to have just a matte dark chocolatey brown in here. It is a little chalky and I would have liked it to have just been a bit creamier, and I think that's where, you know, the money should have gone as opposed to investing in micro glitter. And I don't really know how much money it would cost to have micro glitter in your formula, but if I were to put money into a formula, it would go toward the way it performs rather than how it looks in the pan, because it certainly doesn't really show up on the eye, so it's really not about that. It's really, I think it was just about aesthetics. And I think in the end that is my biggest gripe about this palette in general, is that I think it could have afforded to focus more on the quality of the shadows as opposed to the aesthetics of the shadows and the layout in the pan itself. But all in all, it didn't perform that bad. So moving on to the center of our eyelid today, I'm gonna take my Too Faced glitter glue and just pop a little bit on the center of the lid, because you know what we're gonna do, you know. And before it dries down, take our finger and go into Sassy Bun here and pop it on the eyelid. I mean, that is really pretty. That was like the fastest halo eye I think I've ever done. It just pulls just a teeny bit too orange for my preferences in a bronze shade. I like them to be a little bit more toned down, especially when you're doing a big smoky eye. You want it to be kind of neutral, but in this instance, it works really well with the orangey terracotta crease shades we already laid down. It works really well in the scheme of the palette. So in a weird twist of fate, I am actually really pleased with how this is going so far. I was not expecting it to go this well. Okay, I'm just going to finish up my lower lash line, throw on some lashes real quick, and then we can get back to the rest of the video. BRB, these lashes tried it. They really did. No ma'am was I gonna let this get in the way of my sunny walk in the evening. They're a bit janky, but you're gonna have to deal with it. Last couple of steps are always the most fun. I know you've all been wondering what this highlighter looks like. I'm about to show you. We're gonna dip into Gator Wings, and we are going to put it all over my face. If you don't like glitter, stay far, far away from this highlighter. I'm also gonna pop that in my inner corner. Normally I would do a brow bone highlight, but I think I just want to keep it a little bit softer today. You know, like everyday going to the grocery sort of glam, you know, which is exactly what I'm doing after this video. I don't know what to do for a lip. I think I'm just gonna keep it neutral. My favorite nude, which is the Colourpop and Kathleen Lights Ultra Satin Lip in Dreamy. And of course, I'm just gonna throw on a couple of freckles using Dogman. And that, my friend, concludes this chapter of Get the Most Out of Your Palette with the Tarte and Grav3yardgirl Swamp Queen Palette. This look was, in comparison to the last one, such a breeze to complete. It went so smoothly, and I was not expecting that one iota. That one shade had me so spooked that I have not touched it in pretty much a year. Now that we've revisited it and I have had to force myself to revisit it, I'm not as scared, you know? It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It performed well enough for a sort of chocolatey brown matte shade, although I do wish that it was a bit warmer in tone to sort of correspond with the rest of the warm tones in the palette. Other than that, I think it performed well enough. I mean, the micro glitter wasn't as big of a problem as I thought it was going to be, because let's face it, it just disappeared once you blend it out. So that's it. That's all she wrote on the Tarte and Grav3yardgirl Swamp Queen palette. Knowing what I know now, and if this palette weren't attached to Bunny herself, would I purchase this palette? No. I don't think I would. And that's not to say that I'm regretting this purchase. No, I got a lot of use out of this palette to start off my creativity with makeup. This palette was such a great jumping off point. It had everything I needed to create a solid look. It had enough variety in there. It's a well-crafted palette for the beginner. For someone who is like myself, who has a bit more experience now and who is looking to expand their horizons a bit, I'd say I would give it a pass now. Tarte doesn't do a whole lot of collabs, so they were really going out on a limb, I think, with Bunny. I think they were a great match. I think Tarte sort of gave her a lot of creative control, and they created something that I think she is really proud of, and I think she should be. As far as the performance of these shades, yes, there are a couple in there that I would have preferred they'd focus more on the formula rather than the aesthetics. And let's face it, the purples, metallic shimmers in this palette aren't great. But for the most part, the warm tones, the neutrals, the transition shades, the all over the lid shades are really good. Like, it's a solid palette to sort of use every day. I'm happy I purchased it, and I'm happy I supported her. I really enjoy her content. I would have bought it anyway. I mean, plus, like, as Tarte said, which I actually would agree with her on this, I would have bought it for the highlighter alone. This highlighter is stunning, and I forget that all the time, and I'm always like, you know, I really wish I had like a champagne, stunning, glowing highlight. I wonder where I could get something like that. It's in my kit. I have it here, and I always forget about this highlighter. It's so gorgeous, and it really does melt into the skin. I'm so happy that I decided to use it today, and I'm really happy with how this look turned out. For this chapter in my series, this palette wasn't as smooth sailing as the last one, but I'm glad it isn't. That means I haven't set a precedent for how each palette's going to perform going forward. That's kind of a relief for me because we really set the bar quite high with the Dream Street palette, so this takes a little bit of the pressure off. Comment down below what you want to see next, what palettes you want to see. In the comments of the last video, me and a couple of other people had this really great idea that instead of doing the two peach palettes separately, I think maybe we should do them together, because one of the palettes has a lot of metallics and shimmers but not a lot of mattes, and the other one obviously is the just peachy mattes palette, so it doesn't have any metallics or shimmers. Anyway, I think the two of them together would work really well, and I just wanted to touch base with you and make sure that you guys don't think that's cheating. Yeah, I think those two would work really nicely together and would be good content for you guys. So comment down below which palette you want to see next. I will keep it in mind because that is how we ended up doing the Tarte Graveyard Girl palette so soon. If it were up to me, I would have saved that one for later. As per usual, I'm going to take a break from this series just for a little while to do some content that I want to do. Maybe I'll just do a couple of get ready with me's because I haven't done that yet, and it super intimidates the crap out of me just talking, not about a tutorial or about a review of a product, but to actually just sit down and chat with the camera is a little bit intimidating to me because it's social anxiety ahoy. If that's something that you guys would like to see, I totally will do that. So I'm gonna leave. I'm going to get the last of the daylight and go to the grocery store in my full beat. If you enjoyed this video today, please make sure to give it a thumbs up down below. I know that helps me out a great deal. I've been loving all your comments and your feedback so far, so just keep it coming. If you wanted to see more of this unpredictable beat in your near future, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Why don't you? We're a small group, but we're a fun group. I also have an Instagram and a Twitter account. My Instagram is at Madelaide, same way it's spelled here, and my Twitter is at Madsuds, which is MADDSUDZ, because I'm Canadian. And I think that's everything. I hope the weather's nice where you are, and I hope you're enjoying yourselves, and I hope that you are kind and generous to everyone you meet out there in the world today and every other day. And hopefully, I will see you on the next one. Bye. Grocery time!